pramatta kurute vikarma. Yad indriya pritaya apranoti. Nasadu manye yata atmano yam. Asan api kleshata asadeha. When a person considers sense gratification the aim of life, he certainly becomes mad after materialistic living and engages in all kinds of sinful activity. He does not know that due to his past misdeeds, he has already received a body which, although temporary, is the cause of his misery. Actually, the living entity should not have taken on a material body, but he has been awarded the material body for sense gratification. Therefore, I think it is not befitting an intelligent man to involve himself again in the activities of sense gratification, by which he perpetually gets material bodies one after another. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Begging, borrowing, and stealing to live for sense gratification is condemned in this verse, because such consciousness leads one to a dark, hellish condition. The four sinful activities are illicit sex, meat-eating, intoxication, and gambling. These are the means by which one gets another material body that is full of miseries. In the Vedas, it is said, Asango hyayam purusha. The living entity is not really connected with this material world, but due to his tendency to enjoy the material senses, he is put into the material condition. One should perfect his life by associating with devotees. He should not become further implicated in the material body. Materialistic living and engages in all kinds of sinful activity. He does not know that due to his past misdeeds, he has already received a body which, although temporary, is the cause of his misery. Actually, the living entity should not have taken a material body, but he has been awarded the material body for sense gratification. Therefore, I think it is not befitting an intelligent man to involve himself again in the activities of sense gratification, by which he perpetually gets material bodies, one after another. Today, we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 5, entitled Lord Rishabhadev's Teachings, text number 4. In today's world, parents are very concerned about their children's education. Education prepares one to live a fruitful, prosperous, and happy life for the future, to assure a sense of security and stability as well. That is the purpose of education. We find in this chapter Lord Rishabhadev, who is the emperor of the world, giving his last message to his 100 sons. Eldest amongst his sons is Bharat Maharaj, who was soon to become the king of the world. 9 of his sons were going to become Paramhamsa sannyasis, others Brahmins, and others Kshatriyas, who would be rulers of mankind. In this chapter, Rishabhdev is giving his sons what he considers to be the most important education. He's not simply telling Bharat Maharaj and brothers about how to engage in effective politics, in being a very excellent statesman, in organizing military phalanxes against one's opposition. This he has already been trained in. Raja Vidya Rajaguyam Pavitram Itam Uttamam. Krishna says in Gita, what is the king of knowledge? The most important secret of all secrets. It is knowledge of the eternal soul. And how to live in this world in such a way that we do not become further entangled in its complexities. How to live our life in such a way that we pursue the truth on the path of liberation. That is essential knowledge. In this particular verse, Rishabhdev is giving a very serious warning to his 100 children. And through them, the Lord is instructing the whole world. Nunam pramata kurute vikarama yad indriya pritiya apranoti. That one who considers sense gratification to be the aim of life, he certainly becomes mad. Mad after material enjoyment. And that madness deludes the soul to such an extent that a person indulges in sinful, immoral activities that are the cause of endless sufferings, birth after birth after birth. Sense gratification. Can someone turn the fans on? Everyone looks like they're suffering. Sense gratification is born of ignorance. That is all. When one considers the body to be the self, and the false ego overcome one considers oneself to be the enjoyer. We are eternal souls. Our nature is to serve the senses of Krishna. But under this illusion of the false ego, we consider ourselves to be the enjoyers. And therefore, through this vehicle of the material body, we are striving and struggling to find the aim of life, which is enjoyment. Of course, in Kali Yuga, this is considered to be intelligence. In previous ages, people were considered ignorant, degraded fools if they engaged in sinful activity. But in the Kali Yuga, people are considered very heroic, intelligent, if they can somehow or other attain in their life vast quantities of sense gratification. They are the heroes of the world. This is the unfortunate condition of the world today. But Krishna tells us in Gita how this lust, this desire for personal selfish enjoyment is the source of all miseries. Maya Devi, through the objects of the senses, captures the conditioned soul and keeps him bound to sufferings, birth after birth after birth. But the illusory energy's great genius, because after all, Mayadhyakshena prakriti suyate sacharacharam. Maya is Krishna's external energy, is so brilliant that she keeps us bound to miseries by constantly deluding us to think that the sources of misery will give me happiness. And therefore we cannot give them up. It's very, very difficult. Yatato hyapikonteya purushastya vipashyata indriyani pramatini haranti prashabhamana. Krishna tells in Gita, the senses are so strong and impetuous, Arjuna, that they carry away even the intelligence of a man of discrimination. And Prabhupada gives example herein of Vishwamitra Muni. Such a man, he was so very, very deeply learned, so renounced, but still, for some insignificant sense pleasure, he lost what he spent his whole lifetime to achieve. He spent centuries, he spent thousands of years performing tapasya to get powers. And he gained tremendous powers. So much power that Indra himself feared him. It was not easy for him to become so great. He literally performed severe austerities for thousands and thousands of years. Such excruciating hardships. He gave his life, his soul. What to speak of the incredible, brilliant intelligence he had. But yet, for some insignificant sense enjoyment, he lost everything. And he was thinking he was enjoying for a very short amount of time, but ultimately realized, I've wasted my life. That is the power of the senses when they are uncontrolled. Dhyayato vishayan pungsang sangasteshu bhajayate sangat sangjayate kama kama krodha bhajayate krodhat bhavati samohat samohat smriti vibrama smriti bramshat purinasho purinashat pranashyati. While contemplating the objects of the senses, we develop attachment. From such attachment, kama, or lust, awakens. Attachment and lust. They awaken simply when the mind contemplates the objects of the senses. And when lust is unfulfilled, krodha becomes anger, becomes frustration, anxiety. And from anger, our intelligence is lost. When the intelligence is lost, the memory is bewildered, and then one falls down again into the material pool. Rupa Goswami explains, Adosharatata sadhu sangota brajana priya. Step by step, how we come from the point of conditioned life, little bit of faith, how we go step by step by step to the highest goal of prema bhakti. In these two slokas from the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is explaining how we can go from even a spiritual position, step by step by step by step, into falling deep into the abyss of the pool of material ignorance, bondage, and suffering. It is a gradual process that generally people fall down. Therefore, Krishna explains exactly how it happens. Therefore, Krishna tells us in Bhagavad Gita, from the very beginning, from the point of contemplation on the objects of the senses, we must become very strict. Indriyanam hi charatam yanmano navadiyate tarasya harati pragya vayur navam avambasi. On any one of the senses in which the mind focuses, one's intelligence becomes carried away as a ship is carried away by a storm in the midst of the ocean. This is the ocean of material existence we are living in. Now, have any of you ever gone way into the middle of the ocean? For thousands of miles in every direction, there's nothing but the salted waters. And generally, in the depths of the ocean, that water is freezing cold. You can't drink it. It's full of salt. And there are sharks and all sorts of other fishes down there that can devour you within moments. And it's miles and miles deep. Huh? It's a helpless condition. Years ago, in the previous century, a famous man entered into history for swimming across the English Channel. What is the English Channel? It's just a few miles of water. But has anyone ever attempted to swim across the ocean? Has anyone even considered it? It's vast. It's insurmountable. So if you're on a little boat, just a little boat in the center of the ocean, how vulnerable you are. But actually, that's the situation every one of us are in. It is explained that this material existence is like a vast ocean, Bhava Sagar. Ocean of material existence. And it's an ocean of miseries, material existence. And the human body is a boat. It's a very frail, small, little tiny boat. Consider the Atlantic Ocean, the Pacific Ocean, even the tiny little Arabian Sea is uncrossable by this body. But when we're talking about the ocean of material existence, we're talking of the ocean, the causal ocean. All the unlimited universes with all the unlimited planets are floating like little tiny islands in this ocean. So what is the significance of this little body that we have to cross over the ocean? Whether we are a champion athlete who could lift heavy weights, or we're just a tiny little baby, in the face of the ocean of material existence, it makes absolutely no difference. We are simply insignificant. And the purpose of this human body is specifically to cross over the ocean of material existence. So here we are, and it is explained that the spiritual master is the captain who can help to navigate the course to bring us across. If we do not have a proper spiritual master, then what is our position in this ocean of material existence? We're just going in circles. We're not at all using this body for its purpose, to cross the ocean of material existence, to come to the shore of the spiritual world. We're simply going in circles, around and around and around, birth after birth after birth after birth after birth, drinking the salty waters, being devoured by the timangila fish and the sharks. Brahmanda Brahmite Kona Bhagyavan Jiva Guru Krishna Prasadi Vai Bhakti Lata Bija. After so many millions and millions of births of wandering in this ocean of material existence, when one becomes fortunate, one gets the association of a spiritual master who gives us the direction in which we can cross over this ocean once and for all with this body of human life. And what are the directions he gives us? By the grace of the spiritual master, he blesses us with the breezes of the words of the Vedas. This is Guru Parampara. He's speaking the truth according to the scriptures. And that truth can carry us across this ocean by his grace. But Krishna is warning us. As this little, tiny, insignificant boat, if there is a cyclone or a hurricane, a massive wind, massive rain, massive waves, tsunami wave in the middle of the ocean. You saw how this tsunami wave affected people on the shore. Can you imagine if that wave, which is going in the ocean, it slows down by the time it gets to the shore. But in the ocean, it's going about 500 miles an hour. Hare Krishna. Can you imagine being hit by that wave then? There's no place to run, no place to go. So we do not take it seriously, but Krishna is telling that even one of the senses on which the mind focuses puts us in this predicament of a boat on a water being swept away by a strong wind. What happens? Our intelligence is lost. And when the memory is bewildered, after intelligence being lost is the last stage before we fall down again into the material pool. It is Krishna's warning. Therefore, Krishna tells in Gita that just as a tortoise withdraws his senses within his shell, an intelligent person must the tortoise withdraws his limbs within the shell. An intelligent person will withdraw the senses from their objects. And Srila Prabhupada explains, the tortoise has a shell that has the power to protect it from all dangers. What is our protection? Our only protection is Krishna. Unless Krishna saves us, we have no hope. Daivihyeshu gunamai mama maya duratyaya. Mame vame papadyante mayameta tarantite. This material nature, this divine energy of mind consisting of three modes of material nature, very difficult to overcome. But one who takes shelter of me can easily cross beyond it. So just as the tortoise withdraws limbs within shell for protection, a devotee must seek shelter of Krishna. There's no other shelter from Maya. We have already discussed Vishwamitra Muni, a classic example of someone who tried to take shelter of his own powers, his own intelligence, but ultimately was overcome. But later on, when he took shelter of Lord Sri Ramchandra, he was liberated forever. So for a devotee, according to our sincerity, we understand sense gratification to be spiritual death. Srila Prabhupada explained that sense gratification and Krishna consciousness go ill together. They're opposites. They're actually contradictory to each other. Sense gratification is the process in which Maya Devi steals our heart away from Krishna. But Krishna is Hari. Hari means if we take shelter of him, Krishna steals our heart away from Maya. So this is the tug of war within the heart of a devotee. For non-devotees, there's no war. The non-devotees have just surrendered their lives to Maya Devi. There may be somewhat of a struggle or a battle between the modes of ignorance and passion and the modes of ignorance, passion, and goodness. A good person is fighting to be good. But even goodness, they're utterly conquered by Maya Devi, by illusion. So yes, those who are not devotees of the Lord, they are simply surrendered to the illusory energy. But a devotee, as one of Prabhupada's godbrothers explained, declares totalitarian war against the material energy. Totalitarian war. That means a war to the finish. Not just a battle, war. As soon as you come to Krishna consciousness, Maya interprets it that you are declaring total, all-out war against her, her dignity, her integrity, her power, and everything she represents. Have a good fight. What is the power of Maya? The illusory energy. She's all powerful. She's Krishna's energy. Durga. She's keeping us in the prison house of our own desires. Very formidable. Impossible to overcome. Maya has cast us in the center of this unlimited ocean. And how does she keep us there? By promising us sense gratification. By promising us pleasure. That's all. Prahlad Maharaj, 5-year-old boy, he spoke profound philosophy, but he also made things very simple. If you want to be free of suffering, if you want to be happy, just stop trying to be happy in this world. Because all the happiness in this world it's all like scratching an itch. It's all mental concoction. Really, if we see the world for what it is, we won't be attracted. But it's due to the uncontrolled mind that we're bound birth after birth after birth. If you have an itch, if you are directed by your good intelligence, you'll somehow or other resist scratching it, put on the proper medicine, get healed, and be happy. Yes? But if your intelligence is overcome by the mind, instead of the mind being directed by the intelligence, then you're thinking that you're going to overcome that itch by scratching it. And as long as you scratch it, it never goes away. It gets worse and worse and worse. But it feels good. But as it feels good, it feels miserable. Yes? Scratching an itch is simultaneous suffering and misery. While you're scratching, you're thinking it feels so nice, it's such relief. Prabhupada explained, actually, sense gratification in this world is just a relief from the anxiety of our desires. The desire for sense gratification is like, it's like a thirst, a hunger. It's painful, is it not? When the mind contemplates on the objects of the senses, it's painful. We're craving, we're longing, we're needing. And that enjoyment, Prabhupada explains, is not really positive enjoyment. What it is, it's just a temporary relief from the pain, from the misery of our wants, of our desires, of our longings. And that relief of pain is considered great pleasure. Because on the material platform, that's the only pleasure there is. It's just the relief of pain. If you don't have a desire for something, can you enjoy it? Just like even the best cinema of Bollywood, if you're not interested and you don't want to go and you're sitting there and you're watching, can you enjoy? It's a waste of time. I remember one of my friends went to a cinema house and he said that cinema house was freezing cold. They had the air conditioner on so high. The AC was so freezing. He was getting sick, getting cough, getting cold. He was sitting there. I said, well, why don't you leave it? It's because I was watching the cinema. I said, well, was it a good cinema? He said, no, it was terrible. I said, well, why did you subject yourself? Now you have a cold, now you have a cough, you're going to get bronchitis. Why did you subject yourself to that? He said, because somehow or other my mind just thought that I want to enjoy it, but I didn't enjoy it. Hare Krishna. Maya is so powerful. Mental concoction. We have expectation to enjoy something with the mind through the senses. And then we become obsessed with that. And that obsession is an illusion. Thus we keep scratching, scratching, scratching. Krishna tells in Gita that trying to satisfy the senses through sense gratification is putting fuel in a fire. The fire goes down when you put fuel in it, but it becomes hungrier, stronger, and more out of control with every piece of fuel you place. So it's a hopeless situation. Therefore, Rishabhdev tells his sons, birth after birth after birth after birth, we get material bodies that are subject to birth, old age, disease, and death. The eternal soul, why is it subjected to all this? And factually, in every part of the world, there has been religious saints, prophets, avatars that have come and told everybody that the enjoyments of this world is not your home. People know it. But because of their obsession, because of their addiction, they create all sorts of philosophies, all sorts of ideologies, just so that their intelligence will be more at peace trying to enjoy sinful activities. That's what atheism is about. It's not scientific. All of these modern Western scientists, they proclaim that don't talk about God or morality because that is not scientific. It's the most scientific. It's the most logical. Who am I? Where am I coming from? What is this world? What is my relationship with this world? There has been great spiritual teachers and scriptures throughout the ages, in every society. But when people just allow their minds to focus on the senses and their objects, they become victimized. They become mad. Nunam pramata. They become like madmen. And in that madness, they engage in so many sinful activities. But if their intelligence knows that they're doing wrong, then there's something in the background that's disturbing our sense gratification. Yes? If you're doing something that intellectually you know is degraded, outrageous, and you're just a weakling, you're just fallen and useless and insignificant, you have no proper determination, you have no proper guidance, how could you enjoy knowing that? Huh? Just like a sincere devotee, even if he's trying to enjoy, his intelligence is saying, you're a fool, you're a nonsense, you're just so weak. What are you doing, you fool? And meanwhile, just like Bhavananda Prabhu was telling this story about New York, he saw one young girl, she was holding her nose and eating Mahaprasad. Just eating more and more and more. She couldn't stop eating it, but she didn't want to enjoy it, so she was holding her nose so she wouldn't enjoy it too much. But she couldn't give, it's psychotic. You're enjoying, but you know it's wrong. People engage in sinful activities, but if they know that they're going to go to hell for it, how can you enjoy? Yes? If you have faith in the scriptures, if you're educated properly, you know, I'm going to suffer hellish consequences if I engage in this sinful activity. But you do it anyway. Are you really enjoying? It's just, just your mind and senses are victimized, but your intelligence is ashamed. It's disgusted. It's embarrassed by the whole thing. Is that enjoyment? What do you think? Therefore, so that they can just enjoy unrestrictedly with their intelligence, they create all these ideologies and philosophies and even so-called religious concepts to justify sinful activity and sense gratification. So they can get fuller pleasure when they sin. Yes, their conscience is no longer functioning proper. Their conscience. Their intelligence is convinced that I am this body,